Ford has sold a staggering 1.3 million Focuses in the UK since the original arrived back in 1998. And so there's a lot riding on the shoulders of this third generation model. And to make its life even tougher, we're going to see how it compares to its main rivals, the Vauxhall Astra and VW Golf. To do this, we're going to analyse each car's design, costs, space and driving dynamics, which is where we'll start. The Ford Focus has always set the class benchmark in terms of handling, and this new one, it's no exception. It does have electric power steering for the first time, which doesn't have quite as nice feel to it as the hydraulic system on the old car, but it's still very responsive, and I like the way that it's nice and light at low speeds and then weights up as you start to go a bit faster. Downsides? Well, the Focus's suspension can feel a tad firm at lower speeds, but the quicker you go, the better it gets. And overall, the new model is more comfortable than its predecessor. It's also quieter inside too. That said, the Golf is still the most refined car here, but only by the narrowest margin. And while its softer suspension is more comfortable in town, at higher speeds there's less poise than the Agile Focus. However, it's still fun on a twisty road, which isn't something you could say about the Astra. In terms of handling, the Vauxhall trails the other two, but this may not bother you because if it's a comfy and quiet mile muncher you're after, it fits the bill quite nicely indeed. And anyway, while driving dynamics do matter, in this class practicality is even more important. So, how does the Focus measure up to its rivals for interior space? The new car is ever so slightly longer than its predecessor, and as a result, look, knee room is really impressive. However, the body's a bit lower and a bit narrower yet. As you can see, headroom's reasonable and I'm 5'11", and you could sit 3 adults abreast here, no problem. I want to show you this about the seats because when you fold them down, they lie pretty much completely flat. Sadly, with them in place, the Focus's boot is just 316 litres. By comparison, the VW's is a more reasonable 350 litres. That said, its rear seats don't fold completely flat. And while rear head and legroom are good, the Golf's narrower body means 2's company, but 3 is definitely a crowd. The Astra fares better in this respect. The only drawback is a sloping roof and small windows that make it seem a little bit claustrophobic in the back. At least luggage space is generous. The Vauxhall's 370 litre boot is the biggest here. Pragmatism is all well and good, but many car purchases are still influenced by desire. With this in mind, which of our trio has the most style? Ford has clearly tried to make this new model look a little bit more exciting than its predecessor, the Mark II, and rekindle some of that design flair from the original Mark I. Trouble is, the car seems to be over-designed, with too many angles and creases, and it somewhat looks a bit awkward. As for the inside, while quality is generally very good, there are certain things that feel a bit on the cheap side, such as these flimsy switches, and how the steering column seems to be covered by just a little bit of fabric. Also, on lower spec cars, the door trims are all hard brittle plastic. It is soft touch on the top of there on higher spec titanium models, but they're a bit pricey. This isn't a criticism you'd level at the Golf, although you could say the interior is a bit conservative. However, with the exterior, it's a case of less is definitely more, because the simplistic VW exudes a certain class its rivals can't match. To be fair though, the Astra strikes a nice balance between the Golf's minimalism and the Focus's drama, by being interesting without ever appearing fussy. It's the same story inside the upmarket cabin, although the sheer amount of buttons on the centre console can be a bit confusing. And finally, we come to the rather important matter of price, and the new Focus starts at a fiver under 16 grand. Price-wise, this puts it in between the Golf and the Astra. However, the base Focus has more kit. For instance, unlike with the other two, a digital radio, USB input, Bluetooth connectivity and alloy wheels are standard. But while the Ford is the best value, when it comes to depreciation, one car will hold its value better than the others, the Golf. So then, how does the new Ford Focus come out overall compared to its rivals? Well, it's a better car than the Astra. Trouble is, it's not quite as good as the Golf. You see, while this new model is still superior to drive than the VW and is more grown up than its predecessor, in terms of quality, refinement and desirability, the Golf is still the king. Just.